what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about kind of the first fundamental things you need to set up when you set up a new organization in Rogue. That is your baseball card, right? Your foundational company level data shelf. And then when you actually go in to start writing a proposal, setting up that war room to start doing your writing as well. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And without further ado, we'll jump into that. So when I go into login, okay, I can pick one of my many organizations if I want, right? But for today's purposes, I'm actually going to start with a new organization. Okay, so imagine we're starting from scratch. Let's call this use Rogue training. Okay, we'll go ahead and create that. And now here we are. We don't have anything in this organization, right? It's effectively blank. And this is important to note that each organization you set up is essentially treated as its own company, right? All of the data, all the proposals, all of the user-based access controls for that organization are separate and segmented. That's for security, that's for data integrity and data quality purposes. It's how we do things here. So the first thing you want to set up is your baseball card. And that's why we had this queue here to help you set that up, right? This is the first thing you want to get into. So we're going to go straight to doing that thing. Okay. Now here in the baseball card, what I can do is I can take, if I have maybe a company capability statement, I might have a company slick sheet, I might have a slide deck that I like to use for my company capabilities. I can copy paste that content right in here. I can also, if I'm maybe new to this, or maybe I'm starting a new company business unit, or maybe I just want a little bit of help writing and crafting that, I can come, this chat interface over here, we've built that to help you with this process, right? Most of the cases where we have a chat interface in the platform, it is for a particular purpose, right? We have general purpose chats here, but this one's specifically for you to get that baseball card, that company overview statement set. So I can say something like, use Rogue. Okay. And I'm going to give it a little bit of information there, and it's going to help me, ideally, get that initial capability statement generated. And again, this might not be for everybody. Everybody might not need this assistance, right? If you've already got this stuff kind of crafted in your platform, in your company, you may be able to kind of skip to the end with this. But if you need a little bit of help, or maybe you just need or you might want an example of what it looks like to provide quality information that an AI is built to understand. Because, obviously we're kind of in a new realm with this AI stuff. This can help you by giving you kind of that initial draft, like most of our things. It gives you that kind of initial draft. And then you can go in and edit that content and kind of make it your own, right? So give that just another minute to generate. All right, so we have this kind of starting content here. I'm going to use this button right here. So I'm going to copy that. Boop. And we'll just drop that into the baseball card here. Okay, now from here, I can go in and I can edit this if I want, right? So maybe I'll tighten this up, I'll clean it up. Now, the reason why this is so important is that Rogue uses this as kind of your foundational context setting for your overall organization, right? Just like when you would walk into a customer or a client meeting, or even a teaming organization meeting, right? What's the first thing you talk about when you walk into those meetings? It's, send me an overview brief, send me a capabilities statement, send me your corporate capabilities brief. let me get an idea of what it is you do so that we can start aligning our capabilities sort of on a business to business perspective. Rogue kind of needs that too, right? The AI needs to know what it is you actually do. So we can give some of that information right here. So we can put in our NAICS codes, like I like 541990 a lot. We could put in 541330, a lot of engineering codes, maybe some support codes. I might put in my DUNS. I might instead put in my UEI now. Right? Put our UEI number in there. That's 9 digits. Put in our cage code, 23, ABC, and our primary contact will make me the Stuckey there. Okay. Now, this Rogue chat here is just giving you kind of the framework, right? It's giving you some initial content. It's giving you some draft stuff based on what you gave it. And I can give it a lot more information, right? I could say that we do AR, VR training. I could say that we do a particular type of training, and it's going to give you contextually relevant content that sort of mirrors that and gives you the structure you can work with to build out that baseball card. This baseball card, like I said, acts as that foundational knowledge. It's that foundational context. It's the type of thing that you would impart on a new proposal writer when they come in, right? Hey, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Here's our key strengths, our key core capabilities, right? It's that first cup of coffee information. And we can just fill that out. So if you don't know how to build it, this chat interface is really helpful in doing that for you. And you can then come in here and edit the whole thing. Now, the next important thing is tone of voice. So what kind of tone do you typically take when you're writing a proposal? I have written a lot of highly technical proposals, right? If you're writing SBIR proposals, if you're writing IT installation and support proposals, you might need really high technical language. I've also written a lot of like services contract proposals where there's a real emphasis on using really kind of not necessarily layman's terms, but plain language that anybody can really understand, right? Like, just tell me what it is you're actually going to do. Don't try and wrap it up in a lot of flowery jargon. We can dial that language down. And so since I'm writing, for Use Rogue training, I'm probably going to be writing training proposals for providing services. I can put that, maybe I won't make it the highest level, but I can make it relatively high. Okay, I'll leave it up here. I'm not going to make a PhD level, but I'll make it high. I'm also going to make I personally always like my active voice to be very high. I like it to be very, grew up in the Pentagon where passive voice was verboten. So I like to keep mine very, very high. And with the sentiment, right, are you going to be sort of positive or negative? If I'm writing a technical proposal, I might kind of dial it down, keep it a little bit more sort of acerbic, might keep it a little bit more strict. If I'm going to write something about training, right, this is a human-based interaction, a human-based service I'm providing, I'll probably make it a little bit more positive, right? We're going to be very positive about the kind of services we're doing. With objectivity, subjectivity, I'm probably going to leave that a bit media in the middle. If I'm writing a technical proposal, again, if I'm writing about engineering, I'm probably going to dial that all the way up high on objectivity, right? I want this to be very clean cut. If I'm doing something that's more sort of exploratory, theoretical, maybe I'm doing, or if I'm doing maybe sort of more broad services, I might make that a little bit more subjective. But a lot of cases, I like to keep that in the middle. I like to keep concreteness personally in the middle. And for proposals like this, I like to keep complexity kind of in the middle. If I'm going to do a technical proposal, I might dial that complexity all the way up, right? Because I want those sections of content to be a lot more dense, okay? Eric White asks real quick, how do I best build a card for teaming, right? So I have, maybe, and because we enable folks to build as many organizations as they want, right? I've built team level organizations in this platform before. So I have access to it. My teammates have access to it. The data shelf reflects the team, right? The content that we provide there. So if I were to build an answer here, right? If I was to build a a baseball card, I would probably use the team name, right? So up here at the very top, starting out, I would probably set my team name as, team Rogue or team insert joint venture name here. And then as we're going into building out the content, right, you're going to craft that kind of internally as a team. So what are your internal core strengths? What is your teammates' respective core strengths? If you think about how you do a capability matrix, right, when you build out a team for a proposal, those are kind of the things you want to be able to consolidate those things in, because that entire team brings all of those capabilities. So it's not just you, your company, and what your company capabilities are, it's the capabilities of your entire team. The other thing you can do is down here in the advanced section, this isn't something we show to a lot of folks, but since you all are on the call and you took the time to check out the training, this is where you can give specific instructions about the company, right? So if you have particular ways of writing, if you have particular ways of talking, I can say things like, always refer to the organization as Team Rogue Training Services. Okay. Always say labor hours. Never say man hours. Things like that, right? Those types of things that you would give at the foundational, like this is the way we write. You can set those things up here at the organization level. And this is going to have, hierarchically, this is going to have organizational impact. Everything that comes out of this organization is going to be set in tone and tenor by this card, okay? And so I'll save my system message here, right? And I can put as many things in here as I want. And I'll save my baseball card. And then my foundation, right? I like to think of this when we're building up an organization, we're building out our platform, kind of like building a house, right? So this is site preparation before you lay down the foundation, right? This is making sure that ground is settled and well prepared for building a good organization on top of that. So then the next thing we need to do once that's built is we'll go into our organization's data shelf, okay? This is the data shelf for the entire company or the entire business unit, the entire, productive unit that you're working with. This is the foundational content that will serve as that foundational knowledge base for the AI. So the things we want to put in here are like really high quality winning proposals, maybe really core company content, things like if you have an entire company overview deck, like a company overview PowerPoint deck that doesn't necessarily fit in the baseball card, right? You could upload that in here. If you have sort of products and services content, you can upload that in here, right? If you have core technical data that you use, right? We produce an actual physical product. We have a proprietary way that we provide a product or service. You can put that foundational content in here because it's not going to change. It's not subject to the context of a proposal. It is the context of your company, okay? So that's the kind of stuff I want to put in here, right? So I want to use, if I use core content, I'm going to go all the way into my high quality proposals that I've done, right? The ones that have won in the past. I'm going to put those things up here. I'm going to upload that content. I've got white papers. I've got, technical docs. I can put all of those items in here at the foundational level, right? Now we want to be fairly strict about what we put in there. It can't be everything under the sun, because if we put everything under the sun in there, it's going to kind of pollute, right? It's going to go across the entire organization. So real quick, Matthew, yes, so recording this, we're going to post it on YouTube. And we're also going to publish it to LinkedIn so everyone can see it. So yes, a recording will be shared. Can you protect the data shelf from users looking at the content, but the tool can still write from the content? So unfortunately, Carl, currently the answer is no. So the content is protected by the organization. So if you have a teammate that has access to the organization, they will have access to the content. And one of the reasons there is, honestly, if they have access to the AI and the AI has access to the content, then they de facto have access to the content also, right? Even if we were to hide the document, it's still going to be in there. So, our intent is to ensure that, our users don't reveal proprietary information that they don't want shared with other people. One way that our folks who share platforms with teaming partners, one way to work with that is I will have one organization that is team internal only, right? That's my Use Rogue organization. That's where all of my crown jewels are held. And I may be working my proposal effort in parallel in that proprietary organization where only my personnel have access and my proprietary content is protected, right? My teammates don't have access. And I may be writing full sections in there with the power of Rogue AI to accelerate my internal development efforts. And I might just copy paste that content into a proposal here in my shared space, right? And that is one way that we absolutely ensure that your, folks who don't want to see that, or you don't want to have access to that, don't get access to it. Can I move downloaded documents from existing organizations? Yeah, you can. You can download documents. You can look at them here on the platform, right? If I've uploaded a piece of content, I can look at it here in the document viewer. I can delete content out of one organization and then upload it into another organization. So again, because we prioritize system security, those organizations can't, you can't migrate content between organizations, right? We keep those separations very clean. But you can delete from here, and then I could, upload that same document over here into userogue.com. Can you tell us more about how the AI uses the documents on the shelf? Is it RAG methodology? Yes, David, it is RAG. So the way this works is a combination of retrieval augmented generation, right? For those of you who are not following the latest, greatest in AI things, it is a stack. So I'm going back to my analogy of building a house, right? At the very baseline, at the foundational level, we prepare the organization with that foundational baseball card and tone of voice settings and specific instructions that provides the baseline insight and context to the AI. On top of that, we add this data shelf, right? And we build out, if we go over and look at userogue.com here, and we look at my foundational data shelf, it's a fairly robust shelf, right? I have a lot of core content that I've built into that platform. Okay, so it takes some methodical effort to build out a robust data repository, just like you all have. Okay, so you build that foundational data shelf on top of that, and then when we go into actually writing a proposal, there is a data shelf within each proposal war room. Okay, so this is kind of the next step. And so when I actually go in, and we'll show this, I'll probably show it next week on Monday when we do the live run through of a SBIR proposal build. The data shelf within your war room is unique to that proposal effort. Okay, so there's sort of 3 layers of context and content. And when we actually, anytime we use the power of AI, we use semantic and nearest neighbor search to basically find the content in your data shelf that is most relevant to what you're writing. And it uses retrieval augmented generation with the context of the proposal you're currently writing to generate that content, right? So whereas if you were to do it with like ChatGPT, you'd be doing a whole lot of prompt engineering or context imparting into that context window. We use multiple elements of context from the system and also RAG to do a high quality RAG generation. So is it best to set up an org per opportunity, Carl? The way that we look at it, no, not necessarily, right? If you if you are going to invite teammates into the platform, which candidly a minority of our users do, then you can set it up the way if you have to. The way that I see it is your organization should be set up one of two ways. And it really depends on how your company is set up. So if you are sort of a customer-centric organization, so if I go to one of my big prime defense contractors, and they have a business unit that is focused on the Army, and a business unit that is focused on the Navy, and a business unit that is focused on Fourth Estate, I would have one organization for each one of those business units, because the proposals they're going after, the customers they're talking to, the kinds of proposals they're writing are unique, and they are contextualized for those specific customers. That's the way they've structured their company. If you're more of a product-focused company, right? So I produce a quadcopter drone, and I also produce a UUV, right? I would have an organization probably for a UUV and one for a quadcopter, because again, the customers, the proposals, the focus areas, the core content inside those platforms are going to be separate. And we want to keep the data segregated, because to the earlier question's point, the retrieval, right? When you're retrieving relevant content, you want it to be focused on the focus of that organization. If I'm more of a services company, and I had, one part of my company does, digital development or software engineering, and another part of my company does, my custodial services, for example, I would want those two things to be separate, because again, the content, the context, the personification of the company is different between those two organizations. So that's the way I think about it. Does Deep Dive look into your complete data shelf? And if not, only look at the proposal data shelf? Great question, Eric. Real quick, I'll go through the war room level data shelf. So each proposal, and this goes back to Carl's earlier question, each proposal has its own war room. Okay, so think of, if I'm writing a new proposal or I have a new capture and bid effort, it gets its own war room. And that could be all the way at the beginning of the capture and proposal development process, okay? So while I'm responding to RFIs, I'm responding to DRFPs, I'm doing my Q&A with government, I'm gonna spin up a war room to capture all of that content, all that information, right? And we have a tool specifically for RFI responses. So I want all that knowledge captured in that specific war room. Within that war room, I have a specific data shelf. So when I go to write a specific proposal, I can pull that up and I can put it in specifically for this proposal effort. So things that go into your war room data shelf do not flow down into your organization's data shelf. However, things that are in your organization's data shelf, right, at the company level, those foundational documents, they are made available at the war room level, because they're the types of documents you want to be able to index over and over again, okay? So that's the way we kind of do the data segmentation. So we use both agency, INA, i.e. CMS, and sector, i.e. health, IT, cybersecurity. So Carl, I would probably do it by sector. And it's really kind of around the kinds of proposals you're writing. So if I were in your shoes, right, and I have sort of health IT proposals I write, and then I have cybersecurity proposals that I write, even if there are customers that cross between those different sort of business verticals, the types of proposals you're going to be writing is more dependent on the business vertical, i.e. IT versus cybersecurity, than it is going to be the customer specifically, if that makes sense. So we're right up on time right now. This is really where I wanted to get to with this session. I wanted to get up through starting a war room so we could see how the different data is segregated, right? You're building that house. We're at kind of building the roof right now, where we put the proposal level, right? The RFP documents, the SOW, the SU, any of the enclosures, we're going to put that in the war room level data shelf. And that sits on top of the foundation of the organization level data shelf. And that sits on top of the foundation of the baseball card. So with all of that content built up, all of that corpus of knowledge built for the AI, you are then primed and ready to start building high quality, well-tuned proposals using the generative content from the platform.